everybody, and welcome to the Rocky and Derrick Show. If you like our interviews, please visit our website, rockyandderrickshow.com, and visit our photo and video galleries.
And I'm Niobe, filling in for Rocky.
Today, we're at Elsewhere with
Hale Ekinci.
Who does?
Art.
What kind of art do you do?
I make video installations and mixed media paintings, but what I'm showing here is a video and fiber installation.
What inspired you to do this type of art?
So the work that I have is, besides the video aspect, it's a collection of around 130 fiber amulets that I made that are evil eyes. And what started it was hearing about the Haint Blue tradition of the South. When we were doing a tour our first day here, another artist did this piece on Haint blue that comes from haunted blue that you see in the southern region, where people paint the ceilings of their porches or around their windows this tone of blue to keep evil spirits away. And when I heard that, I thought of the evil eye. I'm from Turkey, so in the Middle East we have the tradition of the evil eye, which is also blue, with the subtle Haint blue around the middle portion of it. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. We're in totally different parts of the world, and we use a similar blue as a protection. And I started to do some more research into other rituals and traditions, and I decided, and we talked about how they would like to protect the collection here, how certain things were not touchable, and we wanted to keep them protected but also transform it in a way. So I thought, oh, it would be great to protect them with evil eyes, yet also transform it in a way, because we would be casting these blessings as well as putting this evil eye on them. And then as I was doing that, I started to make them in the storefront, and I started talking to people if they knew any rituals or customs or traditions or superstitions that they had, and combining that with my research, I realized that my act of making the evil eyes were rituals themselves that we usually overlook. And I combined that with the rituals that I collected, like putting blue liquids in glasses as another form of protection. There's something with the blue. And the video goes through the process of making the evil eyes, along with other acts that could be considered as protective acts and blessings, similar to a shaman. So I'm also commenting on women's labor that goes unnoticed, or domestic labor like ironing, washing, stitching, and sort of giving them a more powerful existence through comparing it to and ritual that actually has powers. So while you're washing, you're casting blessings on the place. Yeah.
What brought you to Elsewhere?
So I had a few friends artist friends that actually participated here, that I saw their work and followed them online, and I was like, oh, that looks really great. And because I make video art, I figured they have costumes, they have props, they have backdrops that are really interesting. I was like, oh, I could definitely make something there that would have a visual aesthetics that's very pleasing, but also look into the history of it. A lot of my work involves looking into anthropology and different cultures and traditions, and I've never really lived in the South region of the U.S. I'm from Turkey. I live in Chicago. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Southern culture and embed that into my work as well.
Do you have anyone that you mainly look up to when it comes to this type of art?
That's the question that gets me every time. So for my video work, there's mainly one person that I admire and very similar to my visual aesthetic, which is Miwa Matreyek. She's not very well known, but she does these live performances and sort of layers of videos in her work. For this piece, I should remember their name. I was looking at someone else actually that resonated with me a lot because they do work with shamans and these like futuristic hybrid creatures. Her name is like Sia something. It's I will have to get back to you on that. Yeah, those two people are the ones that are specifically inspire me for this work. But besides that, like I've looked at so many things and mainly research. And my research involves a lot of anthropology as well besides art. Looking into what rituals mean, what culture means, what's the difference between customs and traditions and rituals. So I'm a very interdisciplinary artist. I don't necessarily only look at visual artists when I'm getting my influences and inspirations.
What is the most favorite project that you've done?
So far in my entire life, so that's tough. I think probably I did this installation. I love crocheting and women's work, as I mentioned. I love knitting and crocheting, and I did this installation of crocheted rainbow-colored head-like shapes that were representative of protesters from Turkey, because it was like a very diverse group of people coming together to speak out for human rights. And that basically included crocheting like over 100 spheres, which sounds very similar to what I just did actually, now that I think about it. So I think that was the one that I enjoyed the most making because of the repetitive aspect of crocheting and how the colors, working with the colors, and the actual making of it.
How long have you been into this type of art?
Well, I got my MFA in 2011, and I think that's where I could say, like, starting in 2008 when I started grad school is where I really got serious about making art. I think I could say that it's been since that time. But in more recent years, I switched, not switched, but added fiber work into my work. So this is really the first time that I use sewing in my work. I did that crochet piece about 4 years ago. That was like the first time I started including more traditional crafts, more overlooked women's work that are not necessarily high art, both for political reasons, but also because I enjoy it so much that I was like, okay, I'm really gonna start to incorporate this into my work. So this particular fiber aspect is more recent. But video work, that was my thesis. From like over 10 years I've been making videos.
Has there ever been a point in your life where you've thought about doing a different job?
I'm actually a full-time professor. I teach graphic design. That's my background. I got my degree. My undergrad was in computer science and studio art with design orientation. So that's how I started, and then I got my MFA in interdisciplinary arts. Between my grad degree and my undergrad, I worked as a graphic designer. So I guess in a way I am doing something else. I teach graphic design. I'm an associate professor at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois. I love my students. I love teaching. I also love making art, and I get summers off. So I'm a full-time artist in the summers.
Do you sell your artwork?
So, I try not too hard because I have a full-time job. That's why I have a full-time job. But I actually, my thesis work was a collection of 5 videos that was also shown at Art Chicago. It's an expo. And a collector from New York saw it and bought the whole collection. So that was my biggest sale. Since then, I sold like little things, but not a lot.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
I think I would move all the time. Having moved from Turkey to New London to Florida to Chicago, I guess it shows a trend. I did a residency in Berlin and I loved it. I think I would definitely want to live in Berlin a little bit. I love Barcelona too, but then I would also love to live somewhere that's more foreign, that I didn't speak the language and that it was foreign. No, I actually, for some reason, I'm not very interested in China. But I don't know, somewhere in Africa, somewhere in South America. Again, since I'm very much interested in cultures and anthropology and symbolic patterns, like Africa would be an amazing spot to go because it's so rich in visual culture. Or South America, I think, would be the places, besides the obvious Berlin answer.
How can people get in contact with you?
My Instagram is HALE art, Hale art, and my website is haleekinci.org, HALEEKINCI.org.
What advice would you give to aspiring children out there who want to be artists?
I guess I give this advice to my students all the time. I think when you really work hard and show your work ethic and that you try and you do your best, you can be successful in anything. That being said, I think it never hurts to have backups plans. Like as I said, I double majored in computer science because I didn't know if I could be an artist. And I think that gave me the push that I needed even more. I was like, okay, I don't necessarily want to be a graphic designer. I don't want to be a programmer. I'm going to go back and get my degree and teach. So I think having your options open, but also always showing good work ethic would get you someplace.
Well, that's it for today, guys. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and if you want to become a sponsor, please visit our website, rockyandasher.com. Bye.
Bye.